Good evening. Happy Tuesday to everybody. Hope you're having a wonderful day. My name is Sensei Bronson Long. This is my instructor, Master Rich Autry, and we would like to welcome you into another episode of Honest Concepts, a show where we get together and talk about more than just our walk in martial arts, but more importantly, our walk in life. So I've known you for a long time. You've been my martial arts instructor since I was 15 years old.
Yes,
you've taught martial arts for many, many years, 30,000 students, and it's always been a pleasure to work under you. And now it's a even bigger pleasure to sit here and be able to just have conversations with you, share them with other people that are around us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine.
Looking forward to this.
Yes,
This is our second, so
right.
we're going to rock and roll this
Yes,
thing.
sir. It's such a good time doing this thing. We had a great time on our first episode.
We did.
Really enjoyed having you guys come in and hang out with us and talk with us in the live chat, and we've seen some pretty good numbers so far, and we've had a lot of support from loved ones out there. So we do just want to take a second to say we appreciate you guys for doing that. Tonight, sir, I had a question for you. Okay. So in today's world, we live in a world full of, at least on our side of the globe, we live in a world full of abundance, full of consumerism, and we just have plenty all around. When you have that much stuff around you, and we just always want more and more, how is it that you can find out what has true value?
Wow. We've done a lot of seminars. I've done a lot of speaking in front of a lot of people. And I'll tell my instructors or even students, if I was to give you a blank piece of paper, and I give it to the student and say, here's a blank piece of paper, you can have it, take it home, do what you want to with it. They'll say, okay, thank you. They'll take it home, throw it away, whatever. But if I tell that student, here's a blank piece of paper, take it home, bring it back next week, and I'll give you $25. Wow, now all of a sudden it has value. Value comes in different sizes, different shapes, and different things. A lot of times value comes in if you're happy with something, or even if you feel secure with it. And talk about that a bit more in a minute. But the thing that I found that most people, or a lot of people, if you're not happy with your life, you're not going to find value in very many things. The happier people and people that are more content in life, to me, find more value in different things. Now, I don't know how you feel about that, but.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. And to segue off what you said, misery loves company. Everybody
Absolutely.
knows that term, right? And so I would suggest it's the other way around too. If you're not in misery, if you're happy, you find to yourself to be happy with more things. You find the value in things. I don't know. I put a lot of thought into it myself because I knew I wanted to ask you this question, and I've came up with three areas that's between things that are scarce and things that are rare. And but I can get to those down the road. But honestly, I think what has hit me the most is, everybody knows about supply and demand, right? Let's say that same piece of paper you handed a student. Let's say it only was manufactured 5 times. There's only 5 of these in the world. It's like, wow, there's only 5 of them, and I have one. There's millions of people out there, but I got this one thing, and that's kind of rarity, right? And that's like, wow, that has its value to it. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, actually, I wonder if value comes from fragility, from things being fragile, in regards to things that can actually be gone forever. I had a friend of mine or a mentor of mine that had, an episode, and I was scared that they might lose their life.
Right.
And once they didn't lose their life, I was like, oh my goodness gracious, the time I get with this person, it could be gone like that.
Absolutely.
It's fragile. Yeah. And I said, the time that I get to spend with them is so valuable. You need to soak it up like a sponge and enjoy every minute of it. And so I know I took that at a kind of a weird angle, but
No, it's good. And there's, like I said, there's different levels.
Sure,
and
right.
different scenarios. My dad told me something. I was young. I was too young really to understand it at the time. He said his dad, which was born I think in 1895, 1894 or something. His dad, he did painting for a living. He painted people's houses. And back then, they were rationed out with gas. All you could get was 5 gallons a week. So my dad used to tell me my granddad would walk to the gas station to get a 5-gallon gas can.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, why didn't he drive? Because he had just enough gas to last for the whole week to go to a job, to paint a house. He had it marked down in his book. So he walked 1.5 miles to get a 5-gallon gas can full of gas, come back, pour it in. He saved 3 miles right there, which would take him to a job. So you're talking about value.
Right.
Can you imagine how much value that little gas can have? We just go to the gas pump and fill it up and
Right.
think about it. But you're talking about value, different ways, different lives. That's value.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is value. That's unbelievable. When did that happen? When was there a time where you were only allowed to get 5 gallons at a time?
I guess back in the Depression.
It was a Depression
Yeah,
time.
I guess it was.
Wow.
You know, and like I said, value comes in different ways. I had, this was probably, I'm guessing 20 years ago, 25 years ago. I had a school in Matthews, and I had this little boy came in. He was about 14, 15 years old. Real nice kid, great parents and all. But he came in, and he trained for like 7, 8 months, excited, and all of a sudden it just disappeared. He just lost. He was there, but he didn't want to be there. You could tell he didn't care about the martial arts anymore. And it happens.
Right.
But he stayed for about a month, you know, and I tried to work with him and show him some extra techniques and all, but nothing worked. So after I worked with him for about a month, about another month went by, it could be 2 months. All of a sudden, he just started getting excited again. I've never seen a kid do that quite so much. He was excited. He was the first one in that class. Excuse me. He was wanting to do private lessons. He was just got excited about it. So after about another 4 or 5 months, his dad came to me and said, "You notice a difference in the kid's name?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "What happened at school was about 2 or 3 months ago, a kid grabbed him and he got out of it. He used a lock or something.
Oh.
So now martial arts had the value again.
Oh.
So the value was put in a different angle, in a different way.
Wow.
And he became just a great little student. He left about a year later. But things change in your life that gives you value, or you can appreciate it more, just like you were talking about. Yeah.
That's a very, very good story. I love to hear that type of stuff. Yeah, and I guess value can also be instilled by your belief or your faith in something, right?
Absolutely.
You know, and when that faith is accompanied with experience, that value becomes almost priceless. You know, that's a very, very good story. I like that a lot. And value, I think, comes in more than just. And actually, it's a great way to move into that belief, is that it's more than just the value of $1 or the value of a gas can. It's the value sometimes of things that you can't touch and things that you can't feel, you know. For time, for example, is something that you can't get reimbursed to you. You know, everything that you spend your time doing, like on this show, we're doing it because it has value to us.
To us.
Yeah.
But it does to us, 'cause we enjoy this.
Right.
People don't know this, but we do this. We do a lot of private lessons with each other, and we just got through working out for an hour just a little while ago. But we enjoy talking.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ms. Alter was saying, y'all need to do this, and you did too.
Right.
But it's fun. You know,
It
we
is.
get to talk about different opinions and stuff. And there again, it's that generation difference too. But when it boils down to the end of the day is everything has value if you want it to. It could be something little, it could be something big. It's just the person that looks at it for the value.
Right.
And what you value might not be for me. What I value might not be for you in certain things. And that's, to me, it's kind of a shame. And sometimes, because, you know, I know people right now, I know kids that got really great parents and they're giving them a hard time. They're not really sometimes maybe valuing it as good as they could. But it happens, you know,
Right.
and they'll all come around, I'm sure. But sometimes it's little, sometimes it's big.
Right.
Yeah.
It is a strange thing to see out there, is that sometimes you don't know how good you got it until it's gone. You know,
Exactly.
When
Health is one thing too.
Oh, goodness gracious, yes, sir. Right, absolutely. Yeah, when I was teaching martial arts around, it was 2019, 2020.
Right.
I didn't realize what I had at the time. Oh, I was having a great time. You know, we were going to tournaments, we were going to Myrtle Beach, we were just teaching all the time.
Right.
And at the time, I looked at it, and I think it's a healthy thing, but you know, it's just weird how you have to find a balance between those things. That
But you were young too.
I was young, yeah. I was, yes, I was 21, 22.
Yeah.
And I was looking at it going, I want more students, I want more this, I want more that, you know, I want to get into this and make things go. And then when 2020 hit, and it was like, boom, everything's gone, I didn't realize just how much I had,
Right.
you know. And I imagine there's plenty of people out there as well who, you know, if they are in this different type of raising where they leave their parents' house and they get into some place, whether it's a college dormitory or whatever, and they're looking at a microwave and they don't know how to use it. You know, parents become really valuable all of a sudden.
Hey, Mom, hit the 0, hit the 1.
What's the popcorn button do? You know? So, yeah, it's amazing how you can discover value in things when all of a sudden they're gone. It's an incredible thing.
Well, I got a tough question for you.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
This is a little out there.
Okay.
What holds together value?
Ooh, what holds together value?
Mm-hmm. They don't know. We always take turns having topics and stuff, and you told me this yesterday, what the topic was going to be. So I did a little thinking, we have to. But what holds together value?
That's a really good question. I think value, just shooting from the hip here, I would say value. It is, yeah, right. On the spot. Right, no time to think about this. I would say what holds value together, I would say people. I think it's a general thing together is that everybody in their individual world has a value. It's your favorite mug or etc. That was my favorite car because it was the first one I ever had. That may be valuable to you. But I think people as a whole, whether it's a majority rule or not, I think we all can come together and agree that there's a tier list of things that have value.
Sure.
Time, family, health, things of that nature, your religion or whatever it is that you hold dear to your heart. Actually, now that I kind of ramble about it, maybe it's the heart that holds the value together.
And it's also, I think, a foundation.
Ooh.
It's a foundation. So many times, guys, I'm sorry, I got allergies, so I have to bear with it. So many times, foundation, and people, they tend to stray away from the foundation. But that's what makes anything good. We talk about things all the time. Well, he's got a strong marriage. He's got a strong athletic ability. He's got a strong job. It's the foundation that we have going into it. The stronger foundation that you have, your value is going to be stronger.
Right.
If you have a strong foundation. It's not just like, okay, I can just do this or I can have that. I like it. But if you have a strong foundation, it really makes it even better. My wife and I have a really strong foundation, so I value everything.
Right.
Everything we do has value to me, but it also bends on having that foundation. That's how I look at it. I mean, like I said, I'm not a scholar. I'm sure some people out there will be like, what's he talking about?
Right.
But that's just one man's opinion.
Sure, yeah. No, that puts a big thing behind it. It is the why, everybody always says if you're going to set a goal, whether it's to lose weight or to save money or whatever it is you're doing for whatever your goal is, they always say you should have a big why. Why are you doing it should be a real reason. They always say, if you're losing weight to look good or to stare at yourself in the mirror, you're probably not going to do it. Or if you're saving money just to go spend it, you're probably not going to be able to save it.
Yeah.
Your why has to be big. And I think that does bring a lot of value into things. Matter of fact, I know it does, because when I started training with you in the very beginning, 15, I walk in and all I wanted to do was hit things. What I mean? I just wanted to punch things and kick things. I wanted to go fight and stuff. And my why I wanted to train martial arts really wasn't big. It didn't have a foundation. It wasn't deep.
Right.
It was just this empty 15-year-old's thought. I just want to go fight things.
Right. That's something.
Yeah.
Well, you told me that too.
Yes, sir.
I asked you.
Yes.
What brings you in? I just want to fight.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Get back with me in 15 years.
Yes,
That work for you.
It didn't take long. It didn't take long before I began to realize there's a much bigger why to studying the martial arts. I realized that it was way different off the rip, but as classes progressed and I spent a little more time around your school and seeing how other people were walking in and they were changing. Because not only was I changing, but people that were there before me, I got to see them in the process of the change.
Right.
And then as years progressed, I saw them become different people. They were nicer, calmer, sweeter, more humble. And that stuff became contagious. I began to realize there's so much more to this than just fighting.
Right.
And I think one of the coolest things I ever heard you say in the beginning was I saw you held up a weapon and you said, this is a sword, but a sword can do many things. Now, it could take a life, but it could also save a life. And you said, but it can do more than that. It can tell a story. Now, I'll never forget you saying that, because when I heard that, it really resonated with me at the time that, the why for why you're doing things. If it's so shallow, it's only going to have shallow results. But the deeper the why, the greater the results that come from your value.
That's why sometimes I guess I hear so many martial arts talking. Believe me, I love all martial arts. I don't care if you do BJJ, I don't care if you do Taekwondo, Isshin-Ryu, Goshin-Ryu, Shotokan, Judo. I don't care what you do. Everything has its place. And you enjoy it for what it does. For me, martial arts is not about just trying to beat somebody up or somebody beating you up. I've been knocked out, I've been choked out before. That's part of learning. But the thing is, I feel good when I'm sitting there and I'm doing techniques. And that's what it's about. You know, you don't have to prove yourself.
Right.
You know, people say, well, you know, you can't, maybe you don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just depends. And that's what we try to stress across at our schools. That's what we always did. You know, it's not about what you can do. It's about being that good person.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to do it every day. You know, whether I'm here in the neighborhood or at the grocery store, I try to be friendly, be kind. Just like, you know, we talk about it all the time.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. I think that translates over into a lot of things. Once you get that taste of purpose, that taste of having a good foundation for something, it's like you said, it starts to really spread into other things in your life.
Yeah.
You know,
It opens doors.
It really does.
In your own heart.
Wow. Yeah. Well said. Exactly right.
It opens doors. People, it's not out there, but it opens doors in your heart.
Yes, sir.
You know, if you do something good for somebody, it makes you feel like, wow, that was
Mm-hmm.
pretty cool. You help a neighbor, you cut somebody's grass or whatever, or you give somebody $10, you know,
Yes.
extra $10 tip. It opens doors. You're like, man, that feels good.
Absolutely.
You know? And people say, well, how lucky are we to be able to do that?
Mm-hmm.
See, that's how I look at it. There's so many people out there that, like we talk about, maybe they're just a little bit bitter about everything. They don't have a good outlook. Excuse me. Bad thing about it is they're missing life. To me, they're missing the fun stuff. You know,
Absolutely.
hey, waving to somebody, saying hey, and taking care of things. That's what it is for me, and it's all just what we talk about.
Absolutely. It's those little things, and it all stems from the foundation. You know, you don't do those nice things unless it comes from a root that is, you know, founded upon something that is, it's nice like that, a good place to come from. And all that stuff does have value. I really do believe so. Whether it's just the small things, and like you said, waving to a neighbor, holding the door open for a stranger, or anything along those lines. I think one thing that, again, comes from a relationship with having with you for value is I love the stories you have told me over the years about things that your dad has taught you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I had a baby not too long ago, and I start looking at him, thinking about certain things, and the why becomes so big there with the child. And I say, you know, what if she comes home with this problem one day? Or what if she comes
And she
home...
will.
Oh, I'm sure.
She will. I
I'm
promise
sure.
you.
Yes.
More than that, too, I'm sure.
What if she comes home with any other thing? What is the proper way to do this in a wise way, where I get to counsel her and I get to help establish that foundation, where she ends up having value instilled into her foundation,
Mm-hmm.
where she can become that person that's not bitter, where she can have a place where she waves to people from her heart, you know, the way that I see you and Mrs. Autry do. And I think about that a lot. On you know, I guess that's a good question I'd ask you next. How do you instill value? How do you teach value?
Honestly, it's living by example.
Wow.
That's how I would do it. I mean, it's not that I'm a smart guy or a special guy or anything. I just do it by example. That's what my dad always did. Excuse me. No matter what the problem was, I could go to my dad for anything.
Mm.
I had the greatest mom and dad and two sisters. But no matter if I had a big problem or a little problem, you know, I could do it, you know. I'll tell you a story. This is a little bit off the track. My dad didn't believe in drinking. He didn't drink alcohol, and I never drank any alcohol. And he said, always told me to stay away from it. He said, nothing good comes from it for us. Now, everybody out drinks alcohol, that's up to you. But for me. So I had my best friend, and I was 16 years old. My dad told me, he said, if you ever have alcohol or drugs in your car, I'll take it away from you, and you'll never have it again. You'll have to, you know, do it when you get older. I said, yes, sir, I'll never do it. So I was at 7-Eleven. One of my best buddies was up there, and he said, hey, give me a ride. That's about 3 blocks from here. I said, okay. Good friend of mine, real good buddies. He hopped in, he had a little bag. I had my 7-Up or my Pepsi, my Snicker candy bar. He had a beer, and he was only 16, 17.
Right.
He had a beer. Somebody sold him a beer. And he opened it up, and I said, whoa. So I pulled off the side of the road. I said, man, throw that out. You can't have that in my car. He said, oh, man, it's fine. I said, you gotta throw that out. I can't have that in my car. I promised my dad. I told my dad we'd do it. I'm not going to do it. He said, I'm only 2 blocks. He starts yelling at me. I said, either put the beer out or you got to get out. True story. So he gets out. He slams that car door, and he holds that beer in my face. He says, you lost a friendship over a beer. So I went home.
Wow.
That's a lot for a 16-year-old.
Wow. Yeah, that's wow.
So I go home. My dad comes home from work. I told him what happened. He said, well, first of all, he said, I'm proud of you. He hugged me. He said, but let me tell you something. You didn't, he said he didn't lose a friend. He lost a friend, not you.
Right.
He said he lost a friend. He said you did good. But I just felt like my dad lived by example, and I wanted to be like my dad.
Right.
And that's what you're going to do with your child.
Wow.
You'll tell stories and all, but that's a true story. I don't know if I should have told that or not, but it's true and it happened. But sometimes you have to make big decisions, and we don't always make the right ones.
Right.
I made 1,000 wrong ones, and I'm sure you have too, and I'm sure I'll make a few more. But if you do by example, lead by example, how you feel, and that's what's going to happen most of the time.
Right. Wow. That's a great answer. Thank you very much. I heard you tell that story, I think maybe once or twice before. The first time I heard it, I was 16 when I heard you tell that story. It's like, man, that's cool. You know what I mean? There's few cooler things than somebody who's actually willing to, stand on their morals, stand on their values.
And it wasn't that I was better than him.
No.
It's just that I was
You
better
kept
than
your
him.
word.
I kept better than him. I wasn't going to lie to my dad.
Right, exactly. Right.
Because he just did too much for me. Like I said, we had a good relationship, and sometimes I see kids have great parents and they don't want a relationship with them, and that breaks my heart. It bothers me.
Right.
But at the end, it'll probably come together.
Sure.
So,
Right. Yeah, I think time is a big deal for that. People just having issues and things that they hold in their heart.
Sure.
And, I think one thing I've definitely noticed in my short 28 years of life is that the more I grow and just have more experiences and just things that happen to you, the more you realize that it's not worth burning bridges over little things, you know what I mean? But what your values are in your heart, you still have to hold to those things.
Yeah.
If not, your foundation starts to crack.
Well, that's it.
And those things, they always say, if the house isn't built on a foundation, the storm will come, the winds will blow, and the house is going to fall
Mechanics.
over.
We talk about mechanics
Yes,
all
sir.
the time.
Right.
Without foundation, nothing works.
Absolutely.
Bridges wash away, or trees come uprooted, marriages fall apart. It's because you lose that foundation. And it's not that we're here to preach and sermon. We're just talking to each other just like we would. We just happen to be over there.
Yeah.
We talk about this stuff all the time.
Exactly. There's just a camera now.
Yeah, that's all it is.
I forgot it was there,
Yeah,
actually.
I
didn't realize the time it
But
was.
that's what we do.
Right.
By the way, let me say hey to Ben.
Hey, Ben.
Ben, if you're out there, how you doing, buddy? Hope everything's going well for you. But anyway, that's the way it is. We just talk about this kind of stuff. We talk about before class or after class.
All the time.
We do this for
Yes,
years.
sir.
We've been doing this.
Yes, sir. It's a great thing to do. It helps. It's helped me grow for years and years, and it's actually investing value into my daughter's future, and for anyone else out there who enjoys hearing these type of conversations. Sometimes just having a little 30-minute thing like this can just change your whole afternoon around. I know it does mine every Tuesday. It helps me a whole lot because everything is just, it's such a fast-paced world. There's news coming in at you left and right. There's people everywhere, traffic, you got to go to work, or eggs are expensive. There's always things, there's always things in your face all the time, and sometimes it's nice just to have a little conversation where we can bring it back to the values, bring it back to the home roots and what makes, life a great thing worth living.
What made you come up with this topic?
I honestly, here's the real answer here. And obviously, I would never lie to you. Last week, there was somebody, it was Ben's dad. He was talking in the chat and talking about how people would have a job interview. He said 20 years from now, your job interviews will be you and your boss texting each other while you're sitting in the office together. And the more I thought about that, I was like, man, he may be onto something. You got the Zoom interviews already. You know what I mean? It's already like that. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, how insane is that face-to-face time, contact here, just a conversation, has become so much more valuable because it's already become so scarce. It's already become so rare. Right. I thought about that bus stop you were talking about last week, about all those kids. And it is just strange to me that when we were out there at the bus stop, we'd throw the football back and forth. We were, laughing and joking, always picking on somebody, usually me, who's running up the bus stop last second to get on the bus, And those things, I just hold those memories so cherished in my heart because they're just good, happy times. And I began to wonder, how much real value is there in these online conversations compared to face-to-face interaction? How much is the difference in value? And, obviously you have your supply and demand in anything. And so when you have less conversation taking place in face-to-face, the value of it needs to go up, right? Because it happens less often. And so that's really what made me ask this question is as the generations change, I think our values have changed. Not too far away. I think we all still value life and health and everything. But, whether it's a 5-gallon gas bucket or if it's a cup from Starbucks or something, value seems to have changed over time. And so I was curious what creates that.
If the value has changed, for me, first thing I think about, it's such a fast-paced world. We don't just sit here. You know, I'm retired, so I have a lot more free time than most people. Pardon me. I'll sit here and I'll think about you at work, or I'll think about the neighbors, or I'll think about Ms. Autry, or whatever. And you have more time to think, but more fast-paced as you are, you don't have much time to think about the values as much.
Yes.
Because I got to go here, I got to go here, I got to go here. You're so fast running back and forth, you don't have time to sit. I wake up every morning around 5:30. Okay, I get up, I drink a lot of coffee. I get up, make me a coffee, and I sit in that chair, and I think about everything.
Right.
I think about you, the baby. I think about Ms. Autry. I think about the neighbors, you know. And I just, my quiet time, I sit here for like 30, 45 minutes. Ms. Autry gets up, then we'll have another cup of coffee. But it's fun just to have that morning. I used to be get up and I'd have to get ready to go to the dojo and clean the floor, you know. We had, you know, just tons and tons of students. I could never keep it clean. I cleaned it every other day.
Right.
Pardon me. But I always had that on my mind. Got to go here. Got to go get students. I got to go here. Now I don't have that. It's good in a way, but there's another way I miss it. But I don't want to do it again full time.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yes.
I did it for 50 years. I'm ready to relax.
Right. You've earned it, sir. You've earned it.
I'm tired.
That's so funny. You know, I'm really glad you said that. I'm glad I got to hear you say that, because I do a lot of driving for my day job. I'm all over the place.
Right.
I'm in
I
Charlotte.
know my text will say I'm driving.
Yes, sir. Right. Yeah. I'm all over the greater Charlotte area. And it's not unusual for me to drive 150, 200 miles a day. So, you know, it's not unusual. And during that time, there's not a whole lot of people to talk to, you know, and I don't want to do a whole lot of texting and everything. So I usually keep a YouTube video rolling or something like that. And it can be anything from some type of educational, documentary, a cooking show. It can be all sorts of stuff. I try to learn while I'm out there. But I have noticed in the last week or two, if I turn that content off, I do better. You know, I steal a term from you. It's like drinking from a fire hydrant sometimes. Right. Like how you have work and you got all these responsibilities and the bills don't stop coming and it just keeps going.
We talk about that night on the floor.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Yes. And then I want to fill up my free time as much as I can with some type of education, try to learn things in history and whatnot. And all that's good and dandy. But sometimes it is good to just get that stuff to shut off and have some time by yourself. Actual quiet time to really let it all settle in and process, the thought process you were talking about earlier. And really have a moment to be alone and just let those things work out. And maybe that's something that has a lot of value now too. It's just alone time, you know, a quiet time away from all the wild ruckus noise, you know.
The school that you came to, the last school that we had, the one before last, over there on Independence, we said that was a big school, big floor and all. I'd be out there teaching 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 hours, you know, and beforehand and afterhand. But when everybody left, Ms. Autry would leave to go home. Sometimes I'd just walk in the back of the dojo, turn the lights on, and sit there and just think. And I caught myself doing that there for 2 or 3 hours. Like, man, it's midnight, I gotta go home. Right. You know, because you get lost in not thinking about anything.
Right.
You know, you get more lost doing that than you do anything else. You just relaxing. You know, you don't have to do anything. You don't worry about it. You just go out there and just relax, and it's fun. I think we all need that.
Absolutely.
Really do, so.
Wow, that's wonderful. Yeah, and that's a really good point. I think I'm gonna start practicing that more. As a lot of times it happens to me when I'm laying down in bed. That's the quiet time. Now there's no history show on. Now there's no work to be done. Right. The baby's asleep hopefully most of the time. And now I'm laying in bed, and it's like a lot of nights I don't fall asleep until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Right. And I'm glad you said that. I'll tell you what. Next Tuesday we'll talk about it. I'll give you an update.
We will. We had a chat.
Yeah. I looked at it earlier, and for some reason I can't find our live chat. I'm assuming I probably messed something up when I started this.
I didn't know that we had something in there.
Yes, sir. I couldn't find it for some reason, but.
Well, let me ask you this.
Sure.
When you first actually started teaching, what did you find most of the students had in common or didn't have in common?
Amongst themselves?
Yes.
Ooh.
You mean, we talk about, values and this, that, because you have so many walks of life, you know. What did you find most students had in common? That's a hard question, I know. Let me break it down a bit more for you.
I think I'm gonna paint this in a very broad brush, very general statement here, but I think what I noticed a lot of people did have in common was avoid. I think almost every student, with the exception of a few really charismatic people that I've seen over the years, most people are, regardless of age, gender, height, physique, whatever, everybody was still looking for something.
Yeah.
Whether it was peace or if it was confidence or
looking to fight like you did.
looking to get in trouble. Yes, it seems that everybody I've taught over the years is looking for something, and I think it's one of the hardest things that I can do as an instructor is try to find out what it is they're looking for and how in the world can I possibly help them get to that place. It's not my job to fill it. I'm not, a higher power, but I do think that they're coming there to look for something. And if I can do my best just to help them out to try to find what it is they're looking for and push them in that direction, I think it's the right thing to do.
But it puts pressure on you too, because you want to help them. But you can't get in their life, but you want to help them.
It is.
You have to keep that.
It certainly is.
And that was the hardest thing in the beginning for me.
Right.
But you being a young instructor, when somebody would come to you with a problem, let's say a guy came to you with a problem at school, that weighs on you. I used to have so many kids would come to me and say, I'm being picked on, or guys, maybe 18, 19 years old, he said, look, I'm having guys at work, pick on me, or I got beat up, or whatever the reason is, or I just don't like my job. And people start telling you this, and you go home at night, and it was just always on my mind. I mean, it was just because we had so many students there for a while. I mean, like I said, we had to wait list quite a while to get in our schools, which was a blessing. But if you hear everybody's stories, after a while, it just consumes you. It really does, and it's going to do it to you too eventually. Yes, but that's where you have to have your foundation, and that's when you have to really get back into feeling secure about your talks with them. And that's hard.
Yes, sir.
Hard, yeah.
Right. That is a hard thing to do. I'll tell you what, though, I had a good example. I got to learn a lot from you, and it's helped me a lot. I'll tell you, it's something that is a great joy and a great honor to do. And there's a very, very special, humbling feeling that comes when somebody comes to you with some good news.
It is.
I'm sure you've had it way more than me, but I have had students come to me before and say, hey, I just want to let you know everybody's gone, everybody's left the school, I'm packing up, getting my gi off and everything. So I just want to let you know, now that I've been in this class for a couple of weeks, XYZ, something has happened that I either stopped doing or I put myself in a better direction. And I just want to let you know it's because of this class that I did that. And it's like, oh, that's great news. And you just couldn't hold back the tears.
Exactly.
As soon as they leave the school, it's like you just,
I can't tell you how many times I've cried leaving my school.
Oh, man.
I mean, hundreds of times. People tell you stuff like that.
Right.
You're like, wow, this is what you teach. This is what I teach. I don't teach to be cool, bad,
Absolutely.
or hurt somebody. I teach to help people.
Absolutely.
And it really helps me more than it helps them.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
Yes, it's great. And this might be a good line to end the show off on, because I know we held up a little bit, but one thing that I've heard you say a million times, because when I have problems, I call you. I've had a million problems. So this is something I've heard you say a lot of times, is that when you're feeling bad for yourself, you're feeling down for yourself, the best thing you can do is do something for somebody else.
Absolutely.
And that is something great about martial arts, is that every single time I get on the floor, I get to do something for somebody else. And by the end of the night, no matter what was filled up with my day or my week before that, by the end of it, I feel so much better, and it brings me value.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Wow. Well, sir.
Well, I enjoyed this.
That was great. Yeah, that was a really, really good time. Number 2 and counting. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight. We had such a good time with you. We hope you had an excellent time too. I apologize. I must have done something wrong to where I couldn't get our live chat up there, so that is my mistake. And I'm going to figure out how to fix that, and next time we get on here,
and guys, just to let you know, we're planning on doing this every Tuesday at 7:30, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Right.
We work out an hour, we'll come out here for an hour or 30 minutes. But anyway, thanks a lot for joining us, and if you don't mind, give us a like on that button. That's what they say.
Yes.
I don't know what it means, but it's what it says.
All right, guys, have a great rest of your evening. We'll see you back here next Tuesday.
Have a good night.